Hello everybody, Bill Johnson here from Johnson Aviation, but I'm working on my Prevost country coach. The problem I'm having is that with the Webasto running, my bedroom fan and galley fan doesn't work. I was able to check the thermostats and they're fine. And in talking to Miles, who is the resident country coach technical expert on these boards, he and I worked through and found a couple of burned traces. You can see it in there, discolored. Here you can see it real well where it's burned apart. And the same was true for the bedroom. I don't know if you can see that one down in there or not. Right down in there. So, since that is on the motherboard, I am going to have to do surgery on the motherboard and splice a wire in there. You know, the two boards that control the Webasto is the A, hydraulic heat A and B board, which are these two boards. And there's a lot of LEDs on here that tell you when different systems are operating, etc. But the board seemed to be working good, but the fans weren't working. So in talking to Miles, he was pretty sure it wasn't one of the hydronic heating boards, simply because they rarely have any kind of an issue. And that got me looking at the back side of the motherboard, and that's when we found the burnt traces. So I'm going to attempt delicate surgery. I have powered down the unit using the disconnect switch. Certainly wouldn't want to try to do this with any kind of power on the board and make things worse. I think the first rule of any type of maintenance is do no harm. Don't make the problem worse or create another problem by rushing or doing things improper. So I'm going to get my soldering iron and try to do some careful surgery and see if that fixes the problem. The first wire laid in there, I think you can see it as that white wire that comes down and connects to that EN1 plus signal. So that's where the trace used to be. I lifted it off and I laid that wire in there very carefully. Now I need to do this other trace up here. You can see real well now where it's burned and broken. So that's the next one. All right, there's a good picture of the trace. We got to lay it in between that enable 1 signal up there and these small little pins, which are hard to see. So we're going to lay a piece of wire in there, or that's the plan. Of course, getting the soldering iron in there is not easy. Okay, I'm laying on my side here trying to show you I got that jumper in there now. Got the other jumper in. So I think we've successfully repaired the motherboard. So now I need to put everything back together and give it a try. Okay, we have heat coming out of the front vent as well as the center vents. The fan motor doesn't sound real great in the center vent, but we can replace that. But the good news is that the circuit boards are now working. So you can see there's a green light and a red light, and then there's another red light. The far red light means that the thermostat's calling for heat. So that red light is that the Webasto interior heat is running. And there's another light down here for the what I call the bay heat and the hot water. So at any rate, it seems like we are now functioning with the Webasto. We may still need to change out some fans. They sound a little dry on the bearings, but they are usable. The interior circulation pump is running. I believe the Webasto is kicked off. Once it gets up to temperature, it kicks off. But you have two fans in that dark, or two circulating pumps in that dark hole. One is for the interior heat exchangers, and the second circulates fluid through the hot water heaters and the bay heaters. And there's two different switches to control each of those. So the good news is it's working. I appreciate Miles taking the time on the phone to walk me through some of this. He was very generous with his time and generous with his knowledge, and I sure appreciate Miles helping me get this figured out and get this going again. So thank you, Miles, and hopefully this video will help somebody else if you have to do any repairs on the motherboard. If you burn a trace, you just have to carefully jumper some wires.